Hey everyone, we're here at Bethesda Game Studios with Todd Howard, of course, who is a longtime veteran of the games industry. You've been here how long? At this particular studio?
This will be my 14th year.
Oh my goodness, great.
Since I was a young infant.
Since you were a young infant. He was actually born in this
puberty
office.
At Bethesda.
That's incredible. So what other titles have you worked on?
Everything pretty much we've done since '94. I mean, you know, working backwards, the last few that were the big ones. Oblivion, obviously, Morrowind, and then did Terminator stuff that we did back in the day as well.
So where does the game pick up from Fallout 2?
So it takes place about 30 years after Fallout 2. Story deals with you leaving this underground vault that your father escapes from. You grow up in this vault in the beginning of the game. It's pretty cool. And then one day your dad just leaves, and then it's, why did my father leave me? And that's kind of our dramatic jumping off point to, I'm going to get out of this vault too. And then you're out in this big post-apocalyptic wasteland of Washington, D.C. In this kind of world, it's interesting to get into who's in charge. What is the government?
Right, so we're still going to see like the Enclave and the Brotherhood of Steel and all these different organizations that kind of were coming up in previous episodes still.
Yep, so the Brotherhood of Steel, that's big in the previous Fallouts, the Enclave from Fallout 2, they're back as well as the Super Mutants.
And another big difference is it's not Washington, D.C. of today that we would know it. It's actually kind of more Washington, D.C. of a bygone era, right?
True, and that's the thing that actually confuses a lot of people. Even though the game is set kind of in the future, it's an alternate timeline.
It's like a retro future.
Yeah, so you sort of take the 1950s and that whole like Leave It to Beaver style, and then take what did they think the future was going to be? Like they're going to have nuclear cars and these laser guns, that kind of world of Tomorrowland, but they still have the, you know, June Cleaver haircuts. So you have that world, and then you have that world blown up, and then hundreds of years after that.
Loading personality. Rocco.
Commerce with all nations, alliance with none should be our motto.
So it sounds kind of confusing when you're in the game. It actually kind of makes sense visually, and then we've licensed a lot of old music from the 40s. Ella Fitzgerald stuff, Roy Brown, the Ink Spots, and everything is just blasted away. And you can tune it in on your Pip-Boy and walk around shooting people to this music.
Yeah, so Pip-Boy is kind of your interface to everything that you, your inventory and that kind of thing. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and how that kind of plays a part in the game?
Well, with the Pip-Boy, it's your PDA device that's strapped to your wrist, and it has all of your stats in it. So something the player does a lot in the game is check their stats, and our goal was to make that, you know, make that an entertaining thing to do, just to look at your stats, and you have the Vault Boy icons there, and he's always doing something kind of goofy, so it just makes that activity entertaining.
So finally, any advice for navigating the wasteland of Washington, D.C.?
Well, when you're down actually in D.C., you want to look for the metro tunnels and head underground. They're filled with ghouls, but they're much easier than the giant super mutants that are up in the rubble of the city. So if you're not high level yet, stay underground.
All right, Todd, thank you so
much.
You. We're here now with Istvan Pely, who's the lead artist on Fallout 3, and we're surrounded by some of the amazing concept art from the game, and it looks really incredible. And so we're doing this whole feature on like the spookiest and scariest creatures that we've come across in video games this month. And of course, Fallout 3 is well known for the baddies that you're going to come across in the world. And I'm guessing that since it's a whole like nuclear disaster, so they're obviously a product of their environment. How did that kind of come into developing them? Are they people that have been deformed, or are they just like, where did they come from?
Yeah, well, a big part of the Fallout universe is it's a world filled with radiation. It's post-apocalyptic after a nuclear holocaust. So radiation is everywhere, and that's affected the inhabitants because we have creatures called ghouls. These are basically humans that have completely devolved based because just so much exposure to radiation, and they've almost become like zombies, really. They're not zombies because they're still, you know, sentient human beings, but the more they've devolved, the more wild and sort of almost insane they've become. And they're probably some of our scariest creatures in the game. You find them in the dark sort of sewers and metro tunnels around urban DC. And they make some horrible, like, raspy sounds when they attack you. They're really pretty frightening. We have these creatures called Super Mutants. These are the big, giant, sort of green, hulking, muscle-bound monsters. They usually inhabit around the DC area. And these guys are very strong, very powerful. They're usually out in the open, well armed, well armored, and they're some of the most difficult creatures you'll be encountering and have to fight in the game.
Well, obviously, there's not just humans that are being affected by the radiation. I mean, any of the local flora or fauna that got affected?
We have the Maryland blue crab. They're famous for it. They taste great. They're prevalent. Well, they still are.
Yeah.
So we basically want to do that sort of old retro sci-fi shtick where you have sort of the little innocent-looking blue crab, and it sort of evolved into like a man in a suit, walking, lumbering, basically crab person who, they sort of attack you from the Potomac River.
So if you kill them, can you then make them into a crab cake and eat them?
In retrospect, we probably should have done that. But actually, when you kill them, you do get their crab. You do get sort of like they're called mylarks in the game. You get their sort of the mylark meat, and as with other creatures in the game, you can sort of take their meat, and it'll sort of heal you a little bit, give your character a boost in HP, as well as a little bit of radiation.
So in short, what you're saying is, while there's a lot of terrifying things in Fallout 3, there's nothing worse than your dinner that can come and bite you in the ass later.
Yes, exactly.
All right, well, good to know. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Istvan.